So what is the deal with the letter C anyways? Why is it even part of the English alphabet when it doesn't have its own sound? The answer to that lies in a very complicated history that has to do with the Phoenicians and the Etruscans and the French and the Greeks and the Romans and the Irish and the Anglo-Saxons. It survived this complicated and convoluted history, and maybe that's why it is stuck in a perpetual identity crisis. Sometimes it borrows the k sound. Sometimes it borrows the s sound. Sometimes it borrows the sh sound. Fed up with this nonsense, in the late 1700s, Benjamin Franklin actually devised a phonetic alphabet that completely did away with the C, along with some other letters. But sadly, it didn't catch on, and we are stuck with the letter C and its sound-shifting chameleon-like nature. Hello, language lovers and language learners and intellectually curious people everywhere. My name is Bakul Soman, and welcome back to my channel. Today, we're going to delve deep into the letter C. I'm going to share the 3 sounds that it makes and the 6 rules that govern when it makes which of those sounds. At the end, I will also give you 2 bonus tips, and we will practice some sentences together. I will also share some ideas with you to help you continue your practice at home to become really proficient. So make sure you stick around till the end. The C makes 3 distinct sounds. The first of these sounds is the k sound. Okay? Sometimes it's referred to as the hard C sound. All right? It's the k sound. And remember, every time you see those 2 forward slashes around a letter, that is the phoneme, that is the actual sound, not the letter of the alphabet. Here is rule number 1. If the C is followed by the vowels A, O, or U, it makes the k sound. An example of a word like this would be the word count. Here the letter C is followed by the O, and therefore it makes the k sound. Okay? Another example would be the word cat. Here the C is followed by the A sound, and based on our rule, it also makes the k sound. Okay? Another word would be a word like cup. Here the C is followed by the vowel U, and again, based on our rule, it makes the k sound. Okay? So when the C is followed by A, O, or U, it makes the k sound. Here's another example of this rule. The word is a little bit different in the sense that it doesn't start with a C, but it doesn't matter, right? It starts with this sound from this S, but the C is followed by the O, which means according to our rule, it's going to make the k sound. So in this word, you're going to have both the S and the k sounds, one after the other. So we're going to pronounce this word as scorpion. So it has this and the k sound, okay? Another example of this would be a word like scuba diving, when you go down into the reefs and, look at all the fish and sea animals, right? So again, we have a word that starts with the S, so we're going to have our S sound, but the C is followed by the U, which means according to our rule, it makes the k sound, okay? So this word is going to have both the S and the k sounds, scuba. That is rule number 1. C followed by A, O, or U makes the k sound. And I like to remember it using this combination. And I tell myself it sounds like the word cow, right? And in cow, C makes the k sound. All the vowels in the word cow written like that make the k sound. Okay, I don't know, it just helps me remember it. Rule number 2. If the C is followed by another consonant, it makes the k sound as well. So an example of a word like this would be cross. Here, the letter C is followed by another consonant, the R sound in this case. So we are going to have the k sound, cross. Here's another example of a C followed by another consonant. The C here is followed by the consonant L, the consonant L or the L sound. So it is going to make the K sound, clay. All right, clay. But that cluster, those two consonants together, do not have to be at the beginning of the word. It is the same rule, even if the consonant cluster is at the end of the word, like in a word like deduct, okay? Here, our C is toward the end of the word and it is followed by the consonant T. So it is going to make the K sound. So the ending sounds here are going to be deduct, right? That's how the word is going to end. So it says the K sound. Rule number 3, as to when the letter C makes the K sound, if the letter C appears at the end of a syllable or at the end of a word, it makes the K sound, okay? I'm going to give you some examples of words where the syllable ends in the C a little bit later. Right now, we're going to look at words that end with the letter C, okay? In a word like music, ends with the letter C, hence it makes the K sound, music. All right. Another example of that would be a word like zinc or basic. In all of those words, it ends with the C and makes the K sound. All right. So now we're going to move on to the second sound that the letter C makes, and that is the S sound. Okay. So rule number 4 tells you when it makes the S sound. If the letter C is followed by I, E, or Y, it makes the S sound. And again, this is just something I have made up. Maybe it helps nobody else. You know, when I was studying for exams growing up, I would always make up these crazy acronyms, and they would make total sense to me, and everybody else would be like, what in the world? Remembering that acronym is harder than remembering what it stands for. So anyways, I'm just going to share it with you for the crazy few out there that might benefit for it. I feel like if we, the word sigh, right? Like sigh, I feel like you could spell it very creatively like this, and you get sigh makes all those vowels make the S sound. All right, again, one of my crazy acronyms. Maybe it'll help nobody. Let's take some actual examples of words where the letter C makes the S sound. In the word city, the letter C is followed by I, therefore it makes the S sound, city. In the word center, the letter C is followed by the E and it makes the S sound according to our rules, center. In the word cyanide, the letter C is followed by the letter Y. According to our rule, it makes the S sound, cyanide. Again, this doesn't have to happen at the beginning of a word. It could be in the middle of a word. For example, in the word bicep, the C, the letter C is in the middle of the word, but it's followed by the letter E, which means it's going to make the S sound, bicep. Rule number 5, this is the second scenario or the second context in which the letter C makes the S sound, and that is if it is followed by the letters E and I, like the word receive. But you will say, well, that's basically the same rule as it being followed by an E, because in this combination, the C is followed by an E. Yes, that is true, but you will realize why I separated this out in just a minute when we look at the last rule. Okay, so just bear with me. All right, so when the letter C is followed by the vowels E and I in that order, it makes the S sound. So that would be a word like receive, perceive, conceive. In all of those, the C is followed by the E-I combination and it makes the S sound. Okay, there is one other sound the letter C makes, and that is the sh sound. So when does the letter C make the sh sound? When it is followed by 2 or more vowels, okay? But they cannot be the EI, because we already talked about EI, which are 2 vowels, but in that particular combination, it makes the S sound. Any other 2 vowels or 3 vowels even together after the C makes the sh sound. Okay, so let's take a look at some examples. Let's look at a word like vicious, okay? See, vicious. So this C makes the sh sound, or in our phonetic IPA, that squiggly line, it makes the sh sound because it is followed by not 1, 2, but 3 vowels, and they're not EI, okay? Vicious. Okay, so that C-I-O-U-S at the end basically becomes shus, okay, in the phonetic alphabet, all right? Here's another example. In the word ocean, the letter C is followed by 2 vowels that are not EI, and therefore it makes the sh sound, okay? Ocean. Here's another word. The word is special, okay? C followed by 2 vowels that are not EI makes the sh sound, special. So that is the one context in which the C makes the sh sound, when it is followed by 2 vowels that are not EI. Okay, so you've stuck with me this long, so you get a bonus tip, actually 2 bonus tips. Bonus tip number 1, what happens when there are 2 C's together? Nothing special really happens when 2 C's are together, okay? You use the same rules that we have looked at, and it just makes sense. So let's look at a few words that have that double C combination, and you will know what I'm talking about, okay? So here is our first word. Let's look at a word like accident, okay? So there's 2 ways to look at this, really. You can say, oh, there are 2 C's together, so the first C is followed by a consonant, so the first C is going to make the k sound, and then you look at the second C, and you look at this letter, this vowel that is after it, and you use the same rules that we learned earlier to decide what sound that second C is going to make, okay? So C followed by I, sigh, makes the s sound. So this is going to have the k sound. Accident, accident, okay? You can also look at it another way. Remember I said if the C is at the end of a syllable, it makes the k sound? That rule can be demonstrated with this word. So where do we break up our syllables in a word like accident? That's how we would break it up, right? Accident. So this this C is at the end of a syllable, and therefore it makes the k sound. And then we use the same rule. C followed by an I makes the s sound, so we get accident. Okay, both the k and the s sounds, one after the other. Let's look at another word. This word is the word occurrence, okay? Using both the techniques that we just reviewed. If you say the first C is followed by a consonant, so that makes the k sound, and then the second C is followed by a U, cow, so that also makes a k sound. So 2 k sounds together. In English, you don't really have a double sound. It just makes one sound, right? So it would just make the k sound, occurrence. So we could also use the C at the end of a syllable rule and try and figure out what this says, okay? So we have occurrence, all right? So those 3 syllables. This C at the end of the syllable makes the k sound. C followed by a U also makes the k sound. Oh, and look, over here we have another C. C followed by an E makes the s sound. So we have the s sound here. So this is going to say occurrence. Okay, so the 2 Ks just make 1 K sound. We don't have like a double k sound. Occurrence, all right? And then I have a bonus tip for you, which is just actually an interesting tidbit of information. This is not very common in English, but there are a few words in English that are borrowed from Italian. And in those words, the C can make the ch sound because I presume of Italian pronunciation rules. So these would be words like cello, okay? Cello is spelled C-E-L-L-O, but this C makes the ch sound, okay? Or in English, it's the diagraph, ch. Here's another word, limoncello, which is a type of lemon liqueur. Limoncello, same thing. The C makes the ch sound. Okay, that's the IPA symbol. Here's another one, bocce ball. Okay, there are two C's here, but they also make the ch sound. These are all words that are borrowed from Italian. So there's a good chance if you have a word that makes a strange pronunciation like that, it is an Italian word. Okay, so now we're going to practice some sentences together. All right, so we're gonna use all those rules that we reviewed. We're gonna put them in practice and try and figure out what sound the letter C makes in each of the instances in each sentence. Sentence number 1. So I'm gonna first go through and underline all instances of the C. So I have a C here, I have a C here, I have a C here, here, and here. Okay, so I'm going to actually give you a few seconds to see if you can figure out what each instance of the letter C, what sound it makes, and then I will review it with you. Okay, C-I, sigh, makes the S sound. Acrobatic, C followed by another consonant makes the K sound. C at the end of a word makes the K sound. C followed by the letter A, cow, makes the K sound. And C followed by an E makes the S sound. Okay, so we have the circus performers' acrobatic skills captivated the audience. I hope you were able to figure out what sound the C made in each instance. Practice sentence number 2. Same thing. You're going to get a few seconds to try and figure out what sound the C makes in each instance, and I'm going to just underline them for you. Okay, so here is a double C, the eccentric. So the first C is going to make the K sound. C followed by E is going to make the S sound. This is a C at the end of a word, going to make the K sound. This is an interesting case. We're going to talk about that a little bit, but let's just look at the rules. C followed by an I makes the S sound. C followed by O, cow. C followed by O. C followed by a consonant, C followed by O. Okay, so how would we say this sentence? The eccentric scientist concocted a corrosive solution. Why did I say the word scientist was interesting? I have seen a lot of people claim that in a word like when this combination happens, SCI, the C is silent. And I do not buy that. I don't agree with that. I think it actually follows the rule. The letter S makes the sound, C followed by I makes the sound. So in English, again, we don't have double S sounds. So it is just the sound. So scientist, the C is not silent as much as it makes the sound. Okay, and it just blends in with the S from the letter S. Sentence number 3. You have a few seconds to try and figure it out. I'm going to underline our C's. Okay, so let's see. C followed by a consonant. C followed by an A. C followed by an O. C followed by an O. So every instance makes the K sound. The doctor carefully examined the patient's continual cough. Sentence number 4, same thing. I'm going to go through and underline all the C's, and you try and figure out what sound each one makes. Okay, here we go. C followed by 2 vowels that are not EI makes the sh sound. C followed by a consonant makes the K sound. C at the end of a word makes the K sound. C followed by an A makes the K sound. C followed by an E makes the S sound. Okay, so here we go. The musician played the classic musical piece with great skill. And here is our last sentence, okay? Same thing. Take a moment, try and figure out what each instance of the C says. All right, here we go. C followed by an A. C followed by a consonant. C followed by an E. C followed by an A. C followed by two or more vowels that are not EI. Sh. C followed by I. S. C at the end. C followed by two vowels that are not EI. Sh. Okay, here we go. The captain navigated the ship across the cerulean waters of the capricious Pacific Ocean. All right, I hope you were able to get most of those right, okay? But like anything else, this is a skill. This is something you have to practice, and your eyes have to be able to process it at a glance. Before you know it, you're going to internalize these rules, and you won't even have to really break it down like this. But initially, you do have to. So I have two ideas for you to practice, to continue practicing this at home, okay? If, like me, you have an old school paper dictionary, which I still love, and I love words, so that's not surprising, open it up to any random page, find a word that has the letter C anywhere in it, and see if you can figure out how to pronounce it. And you will also, the dictionary will have the IPA pronunciation right next to it, so you can double check and see if what you thought the pronunciation was is correct. And if you don't know how to read the IPA, make sure you look at the other videos in this series, because we reviewed all the consonant IPA symbols and all the vowel IPA symbols. So you should have what you need to be able to decipher the IPA. The second thing you could do is just whatever reading material is around you, just randomly pick a paragraph and do the same thing. Underline the C's. Of course, no library books, right? Nothing that damages somebody else's property, of course. But, print out something or something you have lying around that you don't care about. Underline each instance of the C and do the same thing. Figure out what sound that C will make in that context. And then if you're not sure whether what you have deciphered is correct, you could literally just type in online how to pronounce the word and whatever that word is, and you will get a website that'll show you how to pronounce it. These exercises are for you to internalize these rules, so at a glance, when you come across a word that you don't know and it has that C in it, you will know what sound it makes. Of course, there are going to be exceptions, because English is like that, okay? So there are a couple of words that I came up with that are exceptions that don't follow the rules. As you go through these exercises, if you come up with a word that you're like, wait a minute, this doesn't follow the rule, definitely let me know. I would love to hear which words you discovered, okay? So here are some exceptions that I came up with. The first one that I came up with was the word muscle, okay? In this word, this C is followed by a consonant, so it should make the K sound. So it should be muscle, but we don't say muscle. We do say muscular. So when muscle changes to muscular, it does follow the rule. We don't say muscular, right? We say muscular. But in the word muscle, this C is indeed silent. Okay, so that is one exception. The second exception is the word indict. In the word indict, again, the C is followed by another consonant, so it should say the K sound, so it should be indict, but we don't say indict, we say indict or indictment, okay? So those are the two that I have been able to find, or that have come to my mind just thinking about it. Like I said, if you come up with more, definitely let me know. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I really do love hearing from you. As always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next week.